Hey everyone, Pete here with the River Kings, and I am working on a little fun 1.5 that I got donated to me, and I'm working on re-outfitting it so we can get another kid kayaking in the near future. So that's what I got going on. And today's video is a little different. It's something that's been on my mind for probably about 1.5 years now, and safety's been a hot topic here in the last couple weeks. And so this is in no way aimed at any particular event or events, but just kind of a focus in general of the kayaking community. So I figured I'd try to make this video. I have recorded it 4 times and I have not liked it at all. And there's just no great way to say it. So what I'm about to say is probably gonna ruffle some feathers. So get ready. Safety is a hot topic, and I think some things in the kayaking community are just a little bit out of balance, and let me try to explain what I'm saying. So for today's video, I'm really talking about the novice, the beginner to intermediate world of kayaking, the club kayaking, someone getting started and someone starting to progress through their whitewater career. Let's just get right into it. I think everyone would agree that being a safe boater is better than not being a safe boater. And being the safest boater we can be is the best potential outcome for being on the water. And as we all know, or as we all should know, anytime you get on the water in any kind of vessel and any kind of water, you basically just put yourself in a survival situation. And things have changed since I was in kayaking 15, 20 years ago. I got out for a little while, raised some kids. Now I'm kind of back into it. And there's a different take on this whole safety issue. And it started, I read an article a few years ago and I remembered it. There's been a concerted effort to keep retention of paddlers in the sport. And one reason paddlers were getting out of the sport is they weren't able to get their roll. And back when I was starting, pushing a roll right off the bat was what everyone did. And it was incumbent upon you as a beginning paddler to figure out how to get that roll and to practice it until you had it. And not everybody did, and some people's roll is better than others, just like it is now. But it was really stressed heavily, you need to get your roll right off the bat. And so a lot of coaching was done that way, and a lot of frustration ensued because getting a roll sometimes can be a very difficult thing for a paddler. So the move was made to maybe encourage new paddlers just to get on the water, have fun, and don't worry about the roll until you want to graduate out of class 3 into class 4, which personally I can't think of anything more counterproductive to being a paddler than not having a roll in whitewater. This is just such a big topic that I could spend hours on talking about. But if you can't roll, then you can't truly brace. If you can't brace, then you can't truly run your edge control. And if you can't do that, then you can't truly paddle a whitewater boat. You can float vertically down a river with your boat flat. And that makes you want to paddle defensively because you know at any minute you could get tippy, flip, and you're gonna swim. So you end up spending all day avoiding everything on the river that might potentially flip you. You're real defensive, you're real stiff, you're real nervous. And in my book, that's not really paddling. And more importantly, that's not as fun. So now that we have a beginner to intermediate populace of kayakers, they're really not pushed to get a roll right off the bat. And what that's going to cause is a bunch of paddlers who are getting better and better, but have developed a mindset of swimming, because it truly is something up here to make yourself try to roll in a swift water environment, at flow, in the rapid, in the middle of the river, when you don't want to be upside down. That's as much mental as it is physical, and all of us have been there. Not a paddler out there hasn't had to make the transition from not being able to roll to being able to roll in a pool, and then trying to make yourself roll in current, and then before you know it, you just roll everywhere. But that's a tough transition, and looking back on it, it took me months to learn how to roll because there was no online community. There was no YouTube presence of thousands of videos to teach you stuff. I was the only person in my county that I knew had a whitewater kayak, and I just had to teach myself in a pond. But I taught myself. I spent hours and hours every single day for months. And then even after I got my roll, once it started clicking, I taught myself offside, back deck, hand roll, hand paddle rolls, all the Greenland style rolls. The only roll, in fact, the only roll that I never did get was a mummy roll. And I'm gonna blame it that I didn't have the right kayak, but it's basically when you roll without the use of your arms or a paddle. You just contort your body. That one's kind of tough. If you can do that in a whitewater boat, I wanna see that. That's my challenge. Now let's couple this new wave of kayakers that are getting into it, having a good time, getting out on the water, but really aren't confident in a roll, really don't possess a bomb-proof roll. They're gonna be swimming a lot. Hey, we got a swimmer! You good? Yeah, I'm good. That's just gonna be part of kayaking anyway. There's no shame in a swim. You watch my channel, you know, I'll meet you where you are. Hopefully I can help you become a better kayaker. If I can't, hopefully you can help me become a better kayaker. We're all learning. But as we're swimming more as a community in the beginner intermediate levels, that causes a bigger need for safety. And swift water safety techniques and knowledge has come a long way since when I started. It was kind of something a little bit newer back then, and something that you got to later on in your paddling. Most people, when they started, that was kind of not on the radar. We knew a couple little things: to keep your feet up, grab your boat and your paddle, try to self-rescue. And then we knew a couple other little things, and as we progressed up and started getting to the bigger water, it was evident we needed to know more, and then those paddlers would go and seek out swift water rescue. Now there's a big push to seek that swift water rescue out earlier on, which I think is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I think every boater, every whitewater kayaker especially, should have some swift water rescue training, some class somewhere. And as a beginner paddler, you don't need the most technical, amazing class, but you do need to know how to help yourself and how to help others help you in a rescue situation. So now that we've established we have more paddlers swimming without a bomb-proof roll, and now that swift water rescue and training has become so much more prominent, it's kind of starting to become the tail wagging the dog a little bit. And this is where I'm going to ruffle some feathers. So today's modern digital connectivity has created a lot of good for the community, but it's also made the clubs bigger, and the reach is broader. And now as we organize more, the need for insurance and all those things is higher. And so the push for whitewater safety and rescue is higher. So swift water rescue skills and training, while an amazing asset, a fundamental need for a whitewater paddler to have, and something that we should never take for granted, is not going to get you safely down a river. Unless you're walking on the bank. And so where I feel like things are a little bit out of balance now is that there's too much emphasis on swift water skills and training in relation to getting down a river safely. My philosophy has and always will be, the safest way to get down a river is to be a good boater. And where does being a good boater start? There's a million skills you can have, but I firmly believe that it starts with having a bomb-proof roll, because there's nothing in kayaking, absolutely nothing in kayaking, that will give you more confidence than knowing no matter what happens, you can right yourself and paddle away. He's good. Stay in there. Yeah! Roll up! Yeah! And what you'll find is the less you swim, the more you're able to control your boat in any kind of water, the less need for swift water rescue you're gonna get. And there's gonna be some times, we all know, where it just doesn't work out, or you're gonna swim. We're all in between swims, that's never gonna change. But when you know you can roll up, whether it's class 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, then that changes everything about the way you paddle. And more importantly, It makes it more fun. I personally put this philosophy into motion when I started paddling, and again when my son P5 wanted to become a whitewater boater. He came to me and said he wanted to do that, and I said, that sounds fun. And then he was serious. He said, no, Dad, I want to paddle the big water. And I said, okay. So I went out and bought him the best boat for him that I could find, the proper gear, the helmet, the life jacket, the right paddle. And I told him, here's all your stuff, but I'm not going to take you on a river in this boat until you show me you have a good roll. And that's what we did. We went to the pool the next day. He spent 3 hours in the pool, got his roll, and then the rest is history. As he progressed through his paddling, which he's still doing, we would spend untold hours down here at the Saxbaha Lake, day after day, 2 and 3 times a week at times, for a couple hours, 3 hours at a time, practicing all the flat water skills that will translate into being a good on-river boater. And not one of those sessions went by where he didn't roll 100 times or more. And if you look at my son now, left hand, right hand, doesn't really matter what's going on. He doesn't need a paddle. He can hand roll left and right. It's just an amazing thing to watch him progress with the confidence of knowing he can roll up. If you start your paddling without a roll, then you start your paddling with a victim mindset. You know you're gonna swim because you don't have a roll. So every time you get on the river, you're attacking the river in a different way. You're already a victim, waiting for a scenario to happen when you swim. Now, if you have a roll, you have a fighting chance. And as I said before, training yourself to stay calm and to roll up in current is a thing. It's a real thing. It's a struggle. It's a mindset shift. It comes easier to some, comes harder for others, but it's never going to come if you don't have a solid roll. I would really love to see the paddling community really encourage and stress how important a roll is in whitewater. It doesn't matter if you only want to paddle class 2 or if you only want to paddle class 3. That's fine. That's a risk management decision, and that's your decision alone. Some people want the adrenaline and the danger and the rush you get from waterfalls and the big class 5 stuff. And other people just want to float down calm, relaxed rivers and enjoy being in nature, hearing the sights and sounds, and there's nothing wrong with either one. However, I would suggest that if you're in a whitewater boat, you can still have more fun in class 3 if you have more than enough skill to paddle in class 3. It really doesn't matter if all you want is class 2 or if you want to go big. You're going to need to learn that roll to have as much fun as possible. And what would be safer than, if you only want to paddle class 2 and maybe an occasional class 3, than going out and doing those rivers with class 4 skill? Sounds pretty safe to me. Brace yourself. This one might hurt a little bit. I'm not trying to make it enemies. I'm just expressing what I feel. And that's the good thing about not being a part of any particular club or not being sponsored by anybody, is I'm free to say whatever I want, even if it goes against the grain of some of the bigger organizations or manufacturers or whatever. But I'll put it like this. What if we spend as much time trying to make ourselves the safest boater possible as we spent talking about safety? If you're a beginning to intermediate paddle or even more advanced, there are a ton of resources out there for you. And there's some kayaking schools that I would recommend that cover all this in great detail and much better than I could. And they can offer classes from day 1 on the water up through advanced class 5 creeking and beyond. You don't have to do this alone. I'm not a formal instructor. That's not my goal. That's not my mission. I just love to paddle. I love to share my memories, and I love to connect with you, the audience. And so I would suggest, if you're looking for a resource to become a better, safer, more proficient boater, there's tons of resources out there for you. I would suggest not always listening to the ones preaching safety to you, but I would listen to the ones that are trying to actually make you a safer paddler. Go check out H2O Dreams, check out ACE Kayaking School, check out the NOC. Those are just 3 off the top of my head, but there's several good kayaking schools. Look for the ones that have been doing this for years. Look for the ones that are run by top shelf class 5 kayakers who've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It's not just something they're into, it's their life. They live it, and they can back it up with the skills and the experience having done this for a long time. What you can learn at some of these places can be invaluable, and they teach not just swift water safety and instruction, they also teach kayaking skills. The safest place on the river is inside your boat and in control of that boat. And that all starts with the roll. It's my belief that as you're on the water paddling, your #1 focus should not be safety per se. It should be on paddling the river, executing the moves you need to do to get through this river. That doesn't matter if it's class 2 or class 5 plus or whatever you're on. If you can't focus on what you're doing, on making the move, on doing what you need to do to get through this rapid, then it's probably not going to go really well for you. Now, time out. I'm not saying don't set up safety. I'm not saying forget about safety. It's implied. For you to go on a river and do it well, safety has to be a part of every decision you make. It has to be a part of every time you look back at your crew, analyzing the situation, solving a problem. What's the best line? Can my crew get through here? Can I get through here? It's all part of it. But I want everybody on my trip to be focused on doing what they need to do to paddle correctly down this river. If they can't paddle the river, we shouldn't rely on swiftwater safety to come in and save the day. We should go back and get them to a place where they can come paddle this river. Starts with the roll. So that's my rant. Now I'm gonna get back to fixing up this little boat for the next young ripper that needs a Jackson Fun 1.5. All I need now is the stiffener bar in the middle and the seat. And this one is ready to go out the door to a new little paddler looking to have some fun. I'm Pete with the River Kings. Give us some thought. If you want to be a safer paddler, let's focus on becoming a better paddler.